La Lanterna, a spotlight in Italian football, is a podcast that dives into the beautiful game seen from the eyes of two fans from the oldest team in Italy's point of view. My name is Fabrizio Cardone, Canadian and Genovese, together with my friend Matt Killen, an American-born and Genoa fan. Every week, we'll tell you all you need to know about the only team you need to know about, Genoa CFC. Plus, we'll have guests and provide updates from around the magical world of Italian football. Welcome everybody to La Lanterna episode 20.
Finally,
Ciao.
we made it.
Yes, so it's ciao from Fabrizio and from my friend
Matt. Ciao, ciao. How's it going, Fabrizio?
Everything is hunky-dory, happy. I guess I don't know. It's been 2 or 3 weeks now that we've been talking about the Mugugno, and it's still happening. But I'm still happy because I think it's something fantastic. I don't know. I guess I don't know if you want to dive right into the match, but match day 8, we were just talking about that. Already 8 games, Matt.
It's unbelievable. I mean, it feels like the season is flying by. And I know I've been kind of trying to resist the Mugugno as well a little bit. But I mean, let's talk about it, I guess. So last week, really big match. We're hosting Cagliari. There's kind of like a big thing on the line. Cagliari were maybe a little bit farther down at the table than they would have expected to be, but you know, we've been wanting to continue to climb up the table, and we're welcoming obviously like a side that we think is probably going to challenge us for promotion. And so any time you can get points off of a team like that, really, really important. I think everybody at this point probably had a chance to watch the match or catch up to it or watch highlights or something. And I feel like the narrative is going to be pretty similar for most people. And you look at some of the basic statistics and it tells you a lot of, I think, how the match really went. You know, a little bit more possession, maybe not massive, but 60% to Genoa. 15 shots on target, which I think is kind of, or 15 shots, on total, which I think is kind of significant. It's a good volume, and 5 on target. I think there were a couple also that maybe hit the post.
Definitely one.
And yeah,
it's still shaking.
I remember that one. And but the final score is 0-0. So I don't know, Fabry, like what do you think? What were your impressions from the match?
Well, it's definitely bifolded. So the heart was making me angry because I wanted to see the win. Yes. It was at home, 26,000 spectators, which was like a boasting roar. You've been there, so you know what that even means.
Yeah.
The spectacle was beautiful because like they were chanting as usual, flags and flares all over the place. It was just like a party type of scenario environment. However, what we did not expect was Cagliari to come in almost at the levels of a Catenaccio. And if anybody doesn't know what that means, is like every 11 players behind the ball to defend their goal. So that means like the only way for them to have had those 7 shots not on target, because none were on target, because Martinez was basically sitting there counting the grass strings and stuff like that. Yeah. But except a nice save. But it was I don't know. It was we did not expect. Well, we could have. We did not expect Liverani to put that type of a game. We were expecting a little bit more of a game.
Yes.
And obviously, a lot of people call it the anti-calcio, which is anything that stops any type of, type of matches and type of gameplay and whatnot. So, I mean, kudos for them. They came to get the 1 point, and that's what they got. Did we lose 2 points? Yes and no. No, for the fact that, as you said before, like they have they as in Cagliari, so ending 0-0. Cagliari is the contender alongside Parma and Genoa to fight for the top 2 spots. We'll talk about other teams that are like
we got to do it now.
Jumping in there, right? But so no matter what, we are seeing like a team that is almost at par, not on the paper anymore, but almost at par with respects to the quality because there is quality up there from a team that basically came to stop Genoa.
Yeah, the negative thing I think is such an important point. Like it didn't seem. I would not have predicted that Liverani would have lined up in a way where they were kind of sitting behind the ball and not really giving it a go. And there are several players on the Cagliari squad that were recently, in the last probably 3 or 4 seasons, playing for the Russell Blue of Genoa. So, it was. I don't know. I mean, there were a couple of those plays where I think there was a little bit of unluck or just some bad decision making, and Aramu, unfortunately, I think was involved in 2 of them. I mean, I think everybody's probably seen the still image, if you've not already seen it already, of just Goodmanson waiting for the ball on the left wing,
alone,
right? And he's onside and everything, and it's like the only way he doesn't pass that ball is, I guess, if you think that he's not onside, but he's onside. And of course, Aramu takes it on himself to no avail. And there was kind of another play like that, I think maybe in the second half, and it was sort of more of like a goal line kind of clearance thing from Cagliari. But Aramu kind of goes after it, and Code is like right there, right behind him, and he's ready to just hit it. And, again, it kind of a feeble-ish attempt, doesn't really test the keeper, and you could see the goal was kind of beckoning because they had that kind of I guess it would have been the left-hand side, or Koto's right-hand side of it was completely empty with where the ball was breaking, and it just didn't work out. And I mean, I think that's what a lot of people will remember from the match, is that we had chances, we had opportunities. I could imagine many Genoa fans woke up on Monday thinking that Genoa didn't win the match, they lost the match. So I don't really agree with that as much myself.
No, I think, if I may, like what you said at the beginning, the 15 shots is what attempts. Sorry, yeah.
Yes.
It's in the reality, it's what really counts. Like from what we were used to back in the day, last year with Sheva, with even Blessing at the beginning, with whatever team we had last year in Serie A, mind you. Yeah. But it was a totally different story. We did not even, there was like several matches where there was barely a shot on target and almost never even like any attempts. But right now, when we're at 15, 60% possession and 80% pass accuracy, that's telling you a whole big story there, that it's just waiting to explode. That's my opinion. Mind you, we're biased. We're on Genoa's side and whatnot. But, I'm hearing critics, I'm hearing, experts and talking about that. And they're saying it's just like, it's about to happen. It will happen.
You and I are too much alike in our thinking. We got to like change it up somehow or something to challenge each other, I think. Because I kind of look, when you watch the match and you watch what's happening, okay, the end product isn't there. But like, let's say we're playing like 5-a-side or something. We're in a team, we're playing some, against another opponent, and we're moving the ball well. There's some really kind of clever interplay happening. Like people are being positive in how we're kind of thinking about opportunities and the next play and where to go with the ball. And maybe you end up losing that 5-a-side match, or maybe it's a draw like it was for Genoa. At the end of the match, you probably say, we were playing the right way. We had the flow. We were unlucky today. And I think that is, unfortunately, like a little bit of the reality of what the match went like. That's what it was last weekend. Like there were some great kind of opportunities, and there was this strange vibe to it to me. I don't know if you got this. Like it wasn't like the players weren't taking it seriously or something, but it kind of reminded me of, it somehow felt like I was watching like a training ground match. Like the players were all, you could see like the communication, and it seemed like some parts of the game were clicking, but of course it didn't really end. And it's the type of thing that I just, like, in my mind, I sort of imagined that if you were Blessing and you were presiding over a training session or something, which obviously is very, very, very different than a live match and a really critical game against a competitor, you probably would be encouraged by a lot of that stuff because you see those things. And the thinking is exactly as you've said. If those things are there, if you've got players working off of each other, if you're moving the ball in kind of a good way, if you're setting yourself up to get chances, and I would say even notwithstanding the 15 shots total, like the 5 shots on goal is pretty significant.
Absolutely. But to add what you just said, which I totally agree, we're seeing like a lot of the players are starting. They're not there at the perfection level, but they're starting to understand each other with respects to, that's why you see the passages that are like 80%. So there, mind you, there's a huge difference, and nothing to take away from Badel. There's a huge difference since we have Sturtman in on the pitch. Nevertheless, I think that the players are starting to know well each other and whatnot. I didn't read enough, probably as I wanted to get a little bit of a conversation here going with respects to what needs to be improved in order to get those goals now, because we were even talking about it a little bit earlier when we talked about the goals for, and we're very below what are the top teams anyways, right? So we're at a mere 9 goals, where Regina is almost twice, so it's at 17. So that's crazy. Huge, right?
Yeah, it's a big difference.
Right. And then a lot of people talking about this Coda thing, about the fact that he's not scoring, et cetera, et cetera. We talked almost to the exhaustion about this. He is like, as I say, the diesel engine that runs, which takes a little bit, needs to warm up, especially us in the colder countries. It takes a little bit longer to warm up. But then once he starts, then he's going to get those balls in, right? That's the pedigree that he has shown, and the one that he's been bringing to Genoa. Having said that, I don't want to put too much pressure on the guy. I know he has its own pressure on his own self, because that's the type of player he is.
Yeah.
And we've talked about extensively again about this player, and he is essentially like a fully fledged type of striker. So he's not only your guy that stays in the box and waits for the ball and puts him in. He even builds. He's an assist man and whatnot. However, it's not there yet, and I'm still waiting for him. And I'm sure, and I'm positive that, rather people saying he should be subbed and whatnot, I think he should still continue to play.
Of course he should still continue to play. I mean, he's our best. Who would we have up there? He's our best goal scoring option right now. I mean, I think that maybe people think that that's controversial. I just can't imagine us not having him in the starting lineup. I mean, I think it's interesting with Aramu and some other players. Like it seems pretty clear enough to me, like Aramu, at least if the last couple of matches are any indication, Blessin probably wants to have this guy in the lineup. I mean, I know we don't have Ekuban right now and some of the other things, but he's consistently kind of featured in that proper number 10 role. We have to remember that he came in really like pretty much at the end of the summer transfer window. So it did not have, Bot Herring and everything else that happened. He didn't have those moments and understand. He's maybe been involved in a couple of the friendlies we've had behind closed doors and whatever. And of course he's been training and all of that stuff. But like, I think we have to consider this team as an actual team for a second here, because like we need all these parts to be working together. I thought Goodmanson had a really good match, and we still get that good service in from the left-hand side with Payac and what he's kind of doing as he gets farther up the pitch. And you mentioned Strootman. So there's a lot of things to kind of be excited about, but, we've not quite nailed on that kind of, if it is going to be quote unquote a traditional 4-2-3-1, those other two players kind of in the attacking positions. And, some people maybe think that that's not the best way for Coda to play, but honestly, if a couple of things break a little differently, somebody's scoring a goal. And you have to also say, I mean, literally the man of the match was Cagliari's keeper. There were a couple of shots on there that were great shots that he kept out. They were nice saves. It wasn't like we were not testing him or anything like that. So it's a hard one. I understand the sentiment of we need to do more. We need to get 3 points from these matches.
Wait, he was beaten, but the post stopped him.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Fair. Yeah. That's also true. It's just frustrating. It's a frustrating thing because obviously, like, people can make fun of us all they want for us now expecting to win every match and everything else. But like when you put in a performance like that and you don't get 3 points, you just worry that doesn't bite you later on. You worry that we don't see more examples like this where you have a team that's clearly on top. I think we looked the superior side against Cagliari, which is saying, I think, a good amount given where we were last season and the fact actually we finished below them last year. So even within, our quote unquote Serie B signings and all the maligned kind of movement for us during the summer transfer window, if there's still folks who are unhappy with that, we looked much, much better as a side.
Absolutely.
If you don't get those 3 points, you just always worry that, like, does that somehow change? Do people not get the confidence that they need to have into the next match now because they've not had it? I think there's a reasonable concern in a way about Coda, because as a striker, I believe what you believe, Fabry, that if he gets going, he's going to get going and it's all going to be fine. We're going to forget about this whole thing. But the concern is, if he doesn't, could he stay a little bit like cold? But honestly, I don't know if I would say he's even cold. Like, I thought the last few matches he's looked pretty good. It's just he's not always had a goal,
Well, I want to add a few things, like with respects to the fact that I 100% agree. I don't think he's cold. I think he's ready. I think he is just warming up in order to get that that flip
Right.
on what's happening. Let me also add that a lot of people are complaining and want Blessin out because he's no coach for us and blah blah blah, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that he's growing with us as well. Like, obviously he's not like that expert, and even in the day with Gasperini, I remember at the beginning he was doing all his trials and trying to understand, and even Gasperini started from Serie B too, right? So the fact of having this experience in Serie B, I think it's going to greatly help us and help him to grow with the longer term project. Mm-hmm. And one thing that we have to notice, that even though a lot of people are thinking there is no play, there is huge amount of play with the stats that we just mentioned before, not to mention the amount of effort that he's asking from his side. So that's why towards the mid end of the match, we see a lot of players that are without, as we say, senza fiato in Italian. So that means like they're short of breath, essentially.
Yes.
And that's because of the high demand that he has on certain roles and certain players, mm-hmm. especially on the two laterals, the two left back, the left back and the right back. They are like go right up and back on those sides. Mm-hmm. We see that a lot more with Sabelli on the right side. And a little less from Payats, even though he does. Last game, I didn't really like him extremely like I did before, with one specific error that did not go well for Cagliari, thankfully. Otherwise, that would have been that could have been a bad thing. Yeah. But then also the wingers up top, like with Gudmundsson and with Yalcin, another one that unfortunately I have to say that did not do the best of
Yeltsin,
of his matches.
It was a very good match for him. Yeah, I agree.
Right. And what was it going to with that? Oh, sorry. So it's a high demand. So at the end of the match, they're tired. Even Gudmundsson, even though he's like so good, Munson.
There.
Anyways, at the end of the match, you can see the guy's like so full of energy, but at the end of the match, he's like starting to slow down, starting to walk rather than run because of the amount of, like, especially you can see it with him, right?
I mean, that's the Blessin way. I think he's always wanting to have that kind of high pressing, high intensity type of performance in a really kind of like, total football, if you want to go into a style of play where the whole team is just kind of running around Flying Dutchman style a little bit. I mean, I want to talk a little bit about what you mentioned when we were talking before we hit the record button. I mean, if you flip it on the other side, 5 goals conceded. So this is, again, we're now 8 matches in. We've conceded 5 goals. For us, I think that's joint tied for second behind Frosinone, which I think is actually kind of a complete shock. And somehow by some, we've got a lot to do to talk about the Serie B table, but Regina only allowing 3 goals is kind of incredible. But I think if you want to look at this in the opposite direction, at least for me going into this season, if you were to ask me, like, all right, looking at the squad, looking at our positions, like, where is there a concern? I was kind of the most concerned about the defense. I mean, we're losing Memo, who, maybe he played a role in more a specific part of the season last year. And of course, he's a little bit older and everything else, but you have a leader who's there, who's no longer going to be there. And who was clearly, when he was on the pitch, you saw that difference in quality from the moments when he was not, and what that kind of did for our positional play as a whole. We obviously lost players like Ostigar, like Vasquez, after going down. We were able to keep Hefty, but there were definite questions about the defense, I thought. And personally, I was, Dragoshin for me was a complete question mark. There were a lot of people that were not happy with Payac. Sabelli, fine, but is this enough? And I think after 8 matches, what it looks like to me, and you're right to mention that every now and then we might get caught. I think the way that we're playing, it's a possibility that we have guys up a little bit too far, we make a mistake in the wrong way, and all of a sudden we're really exposed. But you look at that back four, and I would also include Martinez in that conversation. Like, they look solid. And so, like, if we feel good about that, I think we feel good about our midfield, at least on the defensive side of the ball, or the quote unquote like central midfielder positions with Frendrup and Strootman in particular. So then we just have to find that next kind of level up with our attacking unit. And we've got enough players, I think, to make this work somehow. There's got to be a way where we can find that combination. And again, you look at Aramu, I mean, I thought he was actually really clever on the day. We just had some plays that didn't work out.
And he's still not at par yet, right? Like at full speed, except and that too. Going back to one thing that you just mentioned about the goal, the defense. Sorry. Mm-hmm. Also, the goal taken, like the goal the defense or Martinez or whatnot. Even though we are second at par with Frosinone. I'm laughing because it's just like interesting and funny at the same time.
I would have never put money on that.
That's what I mean. Yeah. And Regina being first with 3 goals against, I still, and I know I'm mentioning that to you quite often, and maybe even I said that in a few podcasts. Mm-hmm. The fact of that fluke with the match with Genoa Parma, which ended 3-3. I let's take those two out of the 3. Let's take those 2 crazy goals out. We're at par with Regina. So to your point, I think defense, there's no question about it. Stop talking bad about Martinez. Stop talking bad about Payac. It's a solid defense. It's after match day 8. So sure, we have still to meet a whole bunch. We're almost halfway through the first leg. But nevertheless, it's showing to be solid, right?
Yeah.
And one thing that I wanted to add that kind of like flew off my mind and so on, I wanted to talk about quickly, because we were talking about Cagliari when it came over here, and that's what happened also with other times, because if we look at the statistics, we're getting more points away on the road rather than at home, right? So, and that's another example with Cagliari.
Yep.
So I'm going to bring up an interview that happened with Vincenzo Torrente. Most of the Genoani knows who he is, like a great player that was back in the day. And he also was also a coach for the youth, I believe.
Okay.
With Bari, he was also a coach and whatnot. And he just ended, I think, with Gubbio, which was in Serie C. And I think I'm reading here, he's a caretaker. So I guess he's just part of the staff right now anyways, perhaps with the youth squad and whatnot. Nevertheless, what I was trying to point out with his interview. So he was saying, I expect, I'm kind of translating off the fly because it's in Italian. Mm-hmm. I expect that Genoa is going to do the Genoa thing, because it will have to win, and they will win, and that's the Genoa thing that he's referring to.
Yes,
and Genoa is the strongest team in the league. Having said that, he says that the club has put up the proper roster and competitive roster for the season, yep, with experience and quality superior above all the rest, including Parma and Cagliari, who plays against the Grifone will always do the match of their life. And playing at Marassi will give always enormous, it will pump up, the players and the teams that come over to the Ferraris, because it's just like natural, this huge stadium, huge amount of fans and whatnot. And he's alluding to the fact that if with this team you don't go in Serie A, it's basically, he's alluding to say that it's impossible. The values will come out, and there will still have to be a lot to fight for. There are very strong teams out there, like Bari, and that are bringing continuity from a project they have started last year. So what the interesting that I read about this interview was the fact that he says that Genoa is what it is. The fact that we are the strongest team does not mean that it's going to be an easy ride. I made those examples with the Juventus. The fact that that year where there was Juventus, there was the Napoli and Genoa third, with the Genoa of Gasperini. Genoa lost 10 games. Juve lost 4 and tied, I think, 10 or 8, something like that. So what I'm trying to say is it's still happening. Like right now we're on track.
Yeah, I mean,
and we can only expect all the matches, even out away on the road, with teams that are going to do their extreme best because they're facing us.
That's part of what we kind of knew we sort of bargained for a little bit with how the season was going to begin. Like, we're always going to have that target on our back. And
that's it.
I mean, look, like you mentioned just a second ago, we're literally a win off from being in first place, at least in terms of total points scored. And we have some of these teams actually coming up in the next 4 matches or so. So we're not that far off as much as it. And I know that Genoa fans know that too. I don't think that there are many that we're not aware that we're on 15 and Regina is on 18. But you can understand where we are now. Some of those simple, like, little things either to click into place or maybe a tweak from Blessin or something, that's really all that we need to find that next level. So I believe in you. I believe. I'm with you.
So I'm going to say that I just am looking forward to always watch a match, like whether it is a tie or a win. I'm seeing this team that is great and I'm liking it. It's finally, that's what I'm trying to say. I'm finally happy to see this this strong team. It's just like fantastic. Having said that, what else can we say?
Yeah, I mean, I think go for it, Fabry.
No, it's okay. I think it was to be expected. It's not like a step back. And now the next 2, which we're going to talk about, the next match against Cosenza at Cosenza with our special guest, but the next 2 are going to be very detrimental. They're going to be both on the road. And in between the 2, we're going to be at home against Spal again for Coppa Italia.
Yep. Yeah, we have Spal coming up after Cosenza, and then we were just discussing, when you looked at the calendar, these were not games that we thought were going to be absolutely, knockdown, drag out, really difficult matches, but they're all kind of fairly critical, like you mentioned, because of where Serie B is right now. So we play Ternana next, who somehow are sitting in 3rd in the table right now, which I still find is fascinating. They've not lost a game in their last 5. They've won 4 straight. Regina after that, who have been in first now for, feels like 10 weeks. It's not been 10 weeks, but it feels like that.
We're going to be facing them soon.
Yeah, we faced them. Well,
because
we faced them at the match after that match. And actually, it will be a little bit of ways from now. It's all the way in the beginning of November. But it's Ternana. But
it's a national break, right? Is there a national break in between?
I think there must be. I mean, I'm trying to see it. I would think that there would be a little bit more time even between that window than that. But Yes, I think there must be for the World Cup. But yeah, after Cosenza and Spal, it's Ternana, Brescia, Regina. And you've got 3 teams there, all in the top.
That are all up there. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Very interesting. And before the break, I just wanted to quickly talk about the Portofino event.
Yes.
Did you have a chance to look at anything?
I just followed what was on Instagram from the club and everything else. It looked cool. I saw some people kind of sharing it. I liked the Griffin on. I'm not very familiar with the history of Portofino and everything, but that castle there, it was kind of cool, and it's clearly some sort of social event that was going on. I didn't have the context of what actually was happening though. Do you know much more about what it was?
Well, it's the event was called Sport, Lifestyle, and Territorio, which is the territory, of course. So, first of all, the venue was chosen by management by Josh Wanders. Because he fell in love with Portofino. Portofino is like a Capri per se. What I'm trying to say is not comparable with respect to the looks, but it's like your jet set type of place where a cappuccino would cost you like $15 per se. And you can only imagine also the type of boutiques that are there and whatnot. But it's very beautiful. It's a very picturesque. I don't think you had a chance to go there, did you?
I did not go.
When you went to Genoa? No, okay. Imagine like not really, but like people are going to hate me by saying this, similar context in a way like Bocadasse, like a small day.
People are going to.
But instead of being that casual like Bocadasse, it's a super ritzy little hamlet with a marina in it, and I think also yachts to the likes of Bill Gates and Schumacher in the day.
It's
went there.
Deep port, right? Like you could sail internationally into Portofino.
Yes.
Yeah, an interesting.
And the event was essentially to have a touch base with fans in order to present not only to just have some guests like the coach and some players there, but also to talk with the fans themselves as well, and also to have a touch point with their sponsors, which I think is the right thing to do in order to acknowledge them and to remind their sponsors so they're paying something, right? So it's good to acknowledge them and not. So it was definitely it was definitely like a good event. There was a nice conversations that happened. Like there was a Dragosin. He was interviewed and he was just like saying that he's happy with the team. He's super happy with Blessin, and it's just we're in the right direction essentially, and happy to be at Genoa, etc. And then Blessin, the same thing. He says, I exactly know what I need to do with respects to the fact, not like what he was trying to say is, sorry, I said it in the wrong way, but he knew what's at stake. He knows what the intent is from the club perspective with the signings that came along and whatnot, what target he has to hit. So he's saying that it's going to be tough, but he has all the elements that he has that he needs in order to do and accomplish that. It'll just be like not easy, but it'll happen.
I mean, I feel like once again, it's all the right words. I like it too. I'm with you. I think when you hear a manager say something that kind of underlines your belief of the team, it makes you feel a little bit more that like maybe this team can figure it out and find a way. And I do kind of think that, to the comment that you raised earlier in the pod, we have quality all over the pitch. And it does kind of feel like we've not found our best 11 still quite yet in terms of all of that stuff. Maybe it's more of a formation thing than a player thing. But yeah, I mean, once we get there, it's going to be a game changer.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess we should go at our break, as we're about to have the first time that we have a guest coming back. So that's going to be fantastic see our old friend Raffaele from Cosenza. So we'll have him right after the break, and don't run away. My name is Fabrizio Cardone, and I approve this message. Welcome back from our break, and we have here our special guest. As I mentioned to you before, it's the first time a guest is coming back to visit us. We had him at the beginning because when Genoa was relegated, and then we said, okay, let's start to invite some people to know more about Serie B. So now he's back because we're going to be facing Cosenza next Saturday. So we have Mr. Raffaello, president of Cosenza Club New York. Hey, Raffaello, how are you?
Ciao, guys. Hi, Fabry. How are you? I don't see Matt.
There you go. You can hear me at least.
So this is fantastic. I've been reading a whole bunch of things. I have also shared it with you, Raffaello, for the fact of Cosenza has renewed their friendship, their gemellaggio that they have strongly with Genoa, which is something just phenomenal and beautiful. I even read an article where the Questore was reached out by the sindaco. So the mayor went out to the police, the head of police, and basically said to rejig the whole entirety of the security, because this is not going to be something that it's going to be dangerous. This is going to be a super friendly thing, and it's just going to be beautiful to see both. Raffaello, I don't know if I think I sent you the article. There's already 700 Genovesi coming down to Cosenza. And actually, I also read on the chat that several are even coming from not necessarily in the hundreds, but even from London. They're flying directly down either to Lamezia or some to Napoli, and then they're just gonna it's gonna be a beautiful
you
event.
Are incredible people. Like, your best followers in Serie B, I believe. Like, it's just So I mean, it's gonna be a very interesting game for different reasons, like and we come from a bad game. Our derby was really bad, actually, and I believe that something was really wrong, because I didn't see my Cosenza play. I mean, I never saw my Cosenza playing like that in starting from from the first game we are in this season, I mean. And I believe that probably the coach made some mistake. I don't want to blame him, but there was something wrong.
Now, hold that thought just for 1 second. So, of course, you're talking about the derby di Calabria against the Regina. But last time we talked, we were talking about your end of the season where you had to go in the playouts, and thankfully you guys made it. We were all super happy to have you still in Serie B. I know it was just like for very little, but still you made it, and that was super important.
Every year.
Still, that's still something important. So before we go to your Regina match, so tell us quickly about the first 7 matches so far. What do you think about your Cosenza happening so far? Because I personally, after last year, it's still early, but I'm seeing a beautiful Cosenza. They know how to play. They're running. It's a good team.
Has it been changed something? Actually, more than something. In terms of organization first, and also we purchased some good player finally, especially in the midfield. We didn't have a good midfield last year, and I was telling all the time that our big issue last year was the midfield. Now I don't want to. It's like, that's my personal opinion. I think that we have one of the best players in midfield right now in Serie B. You believe or not, is missing the attack. We don't have a strong forwards, and I think that's what is missing right now. And I'm missing Caso, and
look what he's doing at Frosinone.
Yes, I know what I think about Caso. Caso is a really, really great player, and it's very fast.
I can't believe for what you said and for what we're seeing, we sold him for peanuts.
For nothing. I mean,
for
we got
not like
back,
1,250,000, something like
I
that.
know. I know. Our president probably didn't want to invest, and he was not really sure about that. But basically, he wants to leave. He wants to go in some other team with different, different goals. Because obviously, I mean, Frosinone is a different. It comes from Serie A, and they have very important players in the fields, and so they have a different goal than Cosenza. Even if this year, I mean, that we like to fly low as usual, but you never know. You never know. I think that it's gonna be a great season for Cosenza as well, in terms of like standing, and also I see that we are able to play a good soccer. I mean, I see the big difference between last year and this year. Still, again, I mean, I say that unfortunately we don't have. We are missing something in Avanti. I mean, we are missing some good attaccante, but let's see, maybe in January. In January, let's see what's going on, and we are still waiting for Batigol, our Batistuta, Larry Bay, and obviously he has an age. He's not super green. He's not young like used to be. But he has a good experience in the area, and we're still waiting for him. I mean, you have a Coda, guys. Coda is somebody. Coda is like
we're still waiting for him too, Raffaele. We're still waiting for him too.
They already scored a couple of goals last week. So
yeah,
is he waking up?
That's true.
And then it's a big problem for everybody.
Once he gets going, we were just talking about this. Yeah. Once he starts scoring goals, it's going to be a different thing, because he's going to get that rhythm. Confident.
I think that's what you are missing too right now. You are missing Coda. I mean, the goals, the scores.
Yeah, that's what we're saying in the first half, and we were basically saying, if you look at Regina, where they have 17 goals, and for us it's only 9. Right. So even though they're only 3 points ahead of us, the differential in goals is like humongous. So whether it is because all the teams are doing all their best, it's like the game of the year for them when they come to Genova or play against us. So it makes it quite difficult for us to go out there and do our game. But it's a tough one. So let's go quickly back to your Regina before we go to the next match. Sure. So you're saying that it was probably the coach's fault, or what happened there? Because we were hoping you guys to stop this Rombin engine.
There was something really like something that we didn't expect. I mean, we know that Regina right now is a strong team. I mean, they invest a lot of money. I mean, there is no, there's a huge difference. The gap is important between Regina and Cosenza in terms of quality and investment. And
weren't they supposed to go bankrupt?
Yes, and they're still having problem. I mean, they are checking something. I just read an article today that they are checking for some previous bankrupt stuff, and I don't know now with the new property what's going now. But I going back to talking about the team is really great. They have a good players in the fields, especially attaccante, very 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 good, and so that some point those players make the difference. You can see in the fields, they can score from everywhere at any time, and that's the they make the difference. I think that but what I think is this, that they had a different athletic preparation. I don't know if I can say that. And now they are giving the best of the best. And I probably Cosenza is like more diesel engine, and we're still also Genoa as well, because we are still
Still kind of getting started a little bit.
yes.
Yeah.
I want to see Regina. I'm very curious to see Regina in a couple of months.
I kind of like that.
When they start so good, so strong, then in a few months, maybe 3, I'm very curious to see what's going on and what's if there is more continuity, or like probably, I don't know. I mean, normally it's an equation, and they sometimes when you start like so good, so great. I don't know. I mean,
well, I think, Ralph, you're onto something too, because like you said, I mean, how we are, both of our sides haven't been as fortunate on the goal scoring side of things, of course, but like you have to imagine if they do hit a patch where they're not able to be as consistently kind of scoring as they have been, are they going to be able to respond well? You know, they have a good, like you mentioned, they have a good solid team overall. You think, I kind of think of them too as being mainly kind of attacking, as that's where their strength is primarily, but obviously the risk there is if you don't have that same run of form, it could look very, very different for them. And even this match, we were just talking about it before the record, playing against Parma tomorrow, I think is going to be, or today, actually, when this pod releases on Friday, the 14th, is going to be a really interesting game, I think.
Yes, this is going to be a very interesting test. That's the test that I'm very curious to see. And, you know, because Parma is growing, is coming up step by step, piano piano.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want to see Regina. I mean, I want to see Regina in a against versus this big team like Parma. Parma has great players as well, and it's gonna be very interesting. Yeah, I agree. So also because they have the same goals, and so they are on the same level in terms of investment and goals.
Right. Yeah, they're shooting in the same area, and I mean, actually, like even just looking at how they've played, Ternana's kind of surprised, I guess, being third in the table right now. But yes, beyond that, it's
super surprise.
Palermo, Pisa, Cittadella, Spal. So this is probably their first like real like this team has the promotion, the same ambition. I'm completely with you, Raf. So
yeah. I mean, Spal, actually, I don't believe in Spal. I think that the only thing good in the Spal team is an ex-Cosenza's player, which I really love. What's his name? The forward guy, the attaccante, Lamantia. I think Lamantia make the difference. He will score the right goal to make the points
needed. Yeah.
Yes, and that's it. That's the only thing. The good thing is just Lamantia, and I don't know now De Rossi what he can do, because I don't see any big quality in a Spal team. I don't know. I mean, it's just, that's my personal opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, but
no, I completely agree. I kind of mentioned those sides because that's, if you look at who Regina have played, it's aside from Ternana, most of those teams are in the bottom half of the table right now. So it might look different in a couple of months.
Yes, Ternana actually is not a bad team. Also, there is a lot of enthusiasm, and they have a Partipilo, is another Cosenza's ex, and I cry when I think about Partipilo, Lamantia, all Caso. I mean, we used to have such wonderful players back in the past, and now, I mean, they are scoring for some other team, and I cry when I see these beautiful scores, and it's very spectacular, actually. I love Partipilo. Partipilo is one of the best for me, one of my favorites. He's very rapid, he's very fast, he's very intelligent, he's very smart in the field. It's not like just the the goalie. It's really somebody, and that's what I'm missing. I'm missing my attaccante. I mean, just I mean,
well,
but anyway,
We
Let's
can
go with the flow.
complain as much about our own because, like you mentioned, we have Coda, but I think
I don't have a
every-
quota, Matt. I don't have a quota. That's
Yeah.
the point. You know what I mean?
exactly.
You
But
had maybe.
I get where you're
like
coming from though, because like in other seasons, and Fabry can attest this too. This is one of the benefits of not being in Serie A is not watching our former players score goals for somebody else. I mean, like it's even Shomurodov, which I know that was only like a year that we had him, but just was such a fun player, and then he's gone, and Roma barely play him. It's just like, it drives you nuts when you see those players move on and do something else. So.
So, and the other surprise is also not only Ternana, but also Frosinone.
Yes.
Frosinone, I don't think is a real surprise because actually they flopped the last year and they supposed to do a great, another good campionato last year. They didn't, but they're just back on the field right now and they do what they're supposed to do, considering they have great players. Another ex who is playing, and also this guy is from Cosenza. He just was born around the stadium, very nearby to the stadium, Gigi Marulla. Garritano. Garritano is one of my other favorite. I think alla sinistra or alla destra. I think alla sinistra. He's like left wing, but yeah. Anyway, he's another very smart player. Yeah. Very
plus we have Grosso there as a coach as well, right? Fabio Grosso.
Grosso no, is not from Cosenza. I don't think it's
no. I know at Frosinone. Sorry, as a coach.
Yeah, he's doing well. He's doing much better than like other world champion coach like Oddo or no, Gattuso. He did a good job even in Napoli. I mean,
he did, yeah.
But yeah, Grosso is doing well. I don't believe in Inzaghi. I don't know. For me, the Inzaghi's brothers are like I don't know. I mean, there is something that I don't say wow. When that's my other personal opinion. That like I'm very curious to see in a couple of months Regina where Regina will be. I'm very curious for so many different things. I mean, I'm just not because if you look.
If you look at his past, though, you do see Brescia almost getting promoted. Benevento, mind you, was the year of COVID, so they did like that amazing run and went to Serie A. So he does show that with his teams, he's almost up there, right?
Yeah, almost means that he didn't win anything.
I like it.
Nothing. Tell me,
almost.
tell me his Palmares. I don't see any big but the name makes the difference. Sometimes it's all crazy. It's like
you're gonna go play for Inzaghi. We have Inzaghi as the manager.
Oh wow, Inzaghi, the name, blah blah. But I don't.
Maybe it's like Gattuso.
Gattuso. I like Gattuso. He has a strong personality, and is a big. He gives a great motivation, like Conte, like somebody else. I don't. Maybe Mourinho, of the Mourinho I know of, like the 10 years ago Mourinho, not now. I think Mourinho right now I think is done. But 10 years ago Mourinho was like Conte, like even Gattuso, somebody else, and yeah, and then I'm curious to see about.
Sorry, go on.
No. Just I was still thinking about our games. I mean, it's gonna be like it's gonna be very interesting too because for different reasons we need to make points. We need to move it forwards. We come from this bad derby, and for us it's important to change page and give more just to we need to forget what happened last week. And
so actually it's good that you say that, Raffaele, but let's say after the bad game against Regina and now facing Genoa, forget about the being friends on the Spalti, on the stands and whatnot. But what's the atmosphere from a Cosenza standpoint coming into the match, playing on Saturday?
We need to. My team need to be supported from the supporters right now.
Yeah.
And also because we have to move on. And actually the derby was probably yes, for sure, was the only bad game we've been playing since we start playing this new season.
Yeah, at least since the start of the season, right?
And we were very surprised and very disappointed. Very disappointed. We didn't expect this. Also because I'll tell you, what I can tell you is this, that all the Regina fans, also the Regina team and everybody in Reggio Calabria, they were, I don't want to say afraid, but they were not sure to easily win with the Cosenza. Yeah. There was some they were concerning about this game, and but unfortunately, I mean, it was what it was. But so we gotta move on. We gotta change page, and that in terms to do this, we have to play well Saturday, and we gotta make a nice game, because if you play like you are able to do, because we have good players this season. Yeah. I think that through the good game, like we can make the result. We can we can go to to the target, and let's see. It's a big question. I mean, I'm very curious. Yeah.
Do you think, Raf? Do you think they're going to be? So it's the context before the match is so interesting. I think you're so right about it. Like, they have to find a way to get something out of this game. Do you think it's going to be more of a defensive lineup going into it, or do you think they're going to try to give it a proper go?
As a DNA, Cosenza is not the kind of team that play like Regina, like Bari, 40 minutes, 60 minutes, like 1 hour. We used to do ripartenze, so we wait and then we try to
the counterattack,
to make contropiede, and so that's gonna be the game. Also because Genoa, as I saw a couple of games, it's has this characteristic to play constantly in
high pressure,
create a nice Joko, and so let's see. I mean, I'm very, very curious. I can't wait, and I think it's gonna be a beautiful game for sure.
I hope so too. And actually,
yes.
Here's an interesting stat that it's quite curious. In the last 5 matches of Cosenza, last 5, I've seen 4 red cards. So 2 for on Cosenza's side and 2 on the other opponent team.
Opponents, yeah.
What's happening? Is it like a boxing ring or something like that?
No, this could happen. I mean, it's part of the game, and but probably I can speak from my side, from Cosenza's side, that we have one of the youngest team, which means that they don't have a lot of experience, and which means that this could happen more often, and we wish this should not happen, because it's a big penalization for the team when this happens. It's not right. It's not fair.
You don't want players to get yellow banned or anything. Yeah, average age of like 24 years. It's pretty. Are you worried at all? I don't think this player is a major player, but Pietro Martino, I think, picked up the red card in the last match. With him being banned from this game, does that change anything really, or is that kind of? I think he was a substitute in the last game anyway.
Yeah. Who we are really missing actually is our young midfield, and also one defender. So hopefully they will make it for this game. I don't think so, but let's hope. And but we have a large roster this season. We have like 20, I think 26, 27 players, and we have a good substitutes. So let's see.
Yeah.
Very confident. I mean, this doesn't bother me. Last year we were very tight.
Yeah.
But now we have more choice.
More of a squad, hit more rotation you can bring in.
Yes.
And I love the keeper too, Matesovic. Is that how you say his name?
I love him. Yes. Yeah, Matosevic. I think he's a pure talent, and he's growing. He's coming up and he's learning. He only needs some more experience. But hey, if you don't play, you will never make experience. So that's the time to make experience. Probably with the Cosenza Calcio, and then in the future, I'm sure we will see this guy maybe in Serie A playing for some top team, because I think he has a very good talent and he has good vision.
He's had some great games already. So
he's very powerful, yes, very strong, very agile, very fast, and I like him.
What do you think about your defense and your goalie?
Goalie, forget about it.
Is that the weak point?
Yeah, I think so. Right now, yes. That's the numbers speaks they say that. So
well, listen, against all the matches that we had most of the times we had goalies doing these super excellent type of games and making them become better than Buffon.
Yeah. So in fact, that you can see our numbers, who is scoring the goal, the scoring in Cosenza Calcio are the midfields, some defenders,
D'Urso,
everybody, but unless then real forwards. So we're still waiting for our 3 centravanti who scored the first goal, and I don't want to say hopefully with the Genoa, but eventually there's this possibility eventually, that this could happen.
So I guess let's dive into exactly that. What do you think about the match? Let's dive into what do you expect from it? And then
for me it's 0-0.
Okay.
Even.
So we're going right away into the scoreline. Okay.
Which is not good. I mean, this could be good, definitely for us. Probably it's not good for you guys.
Yeah.
Because if you come to Cosenza, you are Genoa, and you have your goal, you gotta come here, beat me, and just win the game. I'm gonna be frankly and honest. But in the other side, the Gigi Marul Stadium is not easy for anybody, and I think that that's why it's gonna be an interesting game. And also,
if I'm not mistaken, Raffaele, if I'm not mistaken, I think Genoa has never won at the Marula.
I think I don't remember. Probably, if I remember well, probably one time you won one time, but I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I think you're right. But many years ago.
Maybe once, yes. But I want to say again something like,
so where do you see mostly the game?
We are not the same of last year. That's the bottom line. So that's why it's going to be an interesting game.
Where are you going to see most of the action then?
Players?
Yeah, let's say you said it's going to be a 0-0. So where do you see the concentration of most of the action happening? Like in midfield, in your defense?
I think midfield, definitely midfield.
Yeah,
but that's what I think. Probably I will be wrong, and maybe it's gonna be 3-3 or 3-2 or 3-3 or whatever. But
it's going to be. I think it's going to be a match and a half. I mean, I don't know. I can kind of see where Raffaele is coming from this a little bit. It being defensive again, and like Fabrizio said before, we've had difficulty sometimes breaking teams down and getting that goal. I don't know. I mean, it's interesting also, like with the team having such a strength in the midfield, and that being kind of where ours has been as well, and probably midfield and defense, and we have the talent up front. We've not always been able to capitalize on it. So I could see it being kind of one of those matches that's in there. I don't know, Fabrizio, if you feel the same, but I do think Genoa will come out with the win on my side of things. I think it's going to be a very tight match, though. I feel like there may not be that many chances between the two sides.
Rough match, yes. Also, because I think I truly believe that Genoa team doesn't want to lose this game for so many reasons, but in the same time, he doesn't trust Cosenza. That's why he has to be careful.
Yeah.
And we have nothing to lose, because in the end, we gotta play our game. And even if we are going to lose with Genoa, this could happen. It's not a big deal, Like,
right.
But the opposite is gonna be different if we are going to beat Genoa for Genoa.
Yeah,
and
it will not be.
So that's why
there will be a revolt.
I think that Genoa has more pressure to
win,
or at least don't lose, and we are more like, I don't want to say spensierati, but you know what I mean. Like we are lighter in terms of pressure. Like we don't have so many pressure. I mean, of course, we have the only pressure we have is that we gotta collect points,
right?
To to maintain the category to the Serie B, but it's different, and so you're supposed to come here and just win at least 2-3-0. That's the Genoa homework Saturday. And I don't think Cosenza is gonna be like he's gonna play like in the derby, and that's why it's gonna be an interesting game. That's what I think.
It should be close.
That's my analysis.
Fabry, what do you think?
Well, did you go through your analysis with the scoreline?
Well, yeah, I did, and I think it's going to be closer. I do think Genoa will win, but for some of the reasons that Raf had mentioned, I think it'll be tighter. And I understand too, like there's pressure. We've not found that rhythm yet. I do think we're going to see a decent performance from Genoa in the match, but it's one that I don't believe is going to be as much of a free-flowing game, and for that reason, I don't think there are going to be all that many goals in it. So I think we actually might have only like a few shots on target type of a thing.
Okay.
It's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a kind of a match. Hopefully, not about the score, like with the like Bari. I don't know if you have been watching Bari Cosenza. We deserve to at least 1-1, like to be tied, to be even, but to make a score. And I think that's.
Remember that game? Yeah.
I think that's kind of the match. Like you can win, I can win, and then in the end, I mean, let's make a deal. Maybe I don't know if it's good for you guys, but I would be happy for a 0-0. I would sign a paper right now.
Matt, what's your score line then?
So I think it's going to be 1-0 to Genoa.
And who's going to be the goal scorer?
Goodmanson, I think.
Goodmanson. Yeah. Okay. All right. So what can I add on top of what you guys have just said?
What about you, Fabrizio? What do you think?
Exactly. Like what can I add on top of what you guys have just said? It's going to be difficult. It's going to be an open match, I believe. Genoa is going to play it all. They are trying to get back what they have missed, quote unquote missed, with Cagliari. So they want to do, and they have been doing quite well on the road too. So it shows that, I don't know, there's some sort of like a fate or good numbers when it comes to that. When it comes to the spectacle, I have no doubt that it's going to be an amazing match. I'm so happy for actually those 700 fans that so far anyways, that are going to go to Cosenza.
Maybe more.
Or maybe more exactly. That's going to be probably the best part of the match. And Matt even knows that, because when he went to Genova, the only time he went to the Ferraris, even though we lost, he enjoyed the match, right? Because it was just like among the fans and etc. When it comes to the game, I think Matt is right, and Raffaello as well. It's going to be a tough one. I before you guys were asking, and I was actually thinking about that before the podcast as well. I'm a little bit on the fence with a tie versus a win for Genoa. Okay. And I'm not too sure where it could go. So technically it could go both ways. But what's that?
Very diplomatic.
Yeah, right.
But my heart and my head at the same time are pushing towards to say that Genoa needs to win. That's the only way to stay afloat up on the top, let's say close to the top two. And I don't know. I think similar to Matt, that it's going to be like not too many goals, which is good.
Okay, just one for you. I understand. Okay.
No, I was gonna say 2-0. I was gonna say 2-0.
Just 0-0?
2-0.
2-0.
Who are the goal scorers then, Fabry?
So I think it's going to happen at the end of the first half and at the end of the second half. And I think it's going to be it's a tough one. I want Coda to start the score finally.
You need Coda. It's important.
Definitely one for Coda because it's important, as you said, Raffaello.
Yeah.
Very
if
important.
You want to go there, Coda has to better wake up.
To wake up.
That would be a big, an away goal too, I think would be a good thing for his confidence as well.
And I think it's going to be, the other one is going to be Puskás.
I was about to say, are we going to see a Puskás goal?
Yeah, in the second half.
I would like to see that. It's remarkable to me that he's been playing only like 15 minutes or so. This is a guy that could be a starter for a lot of other clubs.
Oh, big time.
So I guess that's when we're going back. We were talking about earlier. If this is something where Coda struggles, I don't think you ever replace Coda in the lineup. I just don't think you do it. But if there's a guy that you would, like maybe he's one of the guys. So, but yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be. It should be a fun one to watch. I don't think this is going to be it's going to be an actual competition. 100%. This is going to be a difficult match.
I'm excited. Like as Raffaello said before, it's like I can't wait for the match to start. It's just like. Yeah. It's just like I just want to watch it. I want to watch the two Rosso Blue teams play against each other.
Beautiful. It's gonna be a very big party, beautiful festa.
Yeah,
the battle line. And even if I'm disagree with the both of us, of you guys, but I still stick with my 0-0 for Scaramanzia, and I prefer not to say I'm sure maybe we are going to win 1-0 or whatever, because I'm very scaramantic as a Southern Italian person, and I would never say we are going to win. So I mean, I like to fly low, and if anything comes as a little gift from the sky, I will be more than happy. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be prepared.
Everything can happen.
Anything. So I mean,
as they say in Italy, la palla è rotonda. So the ball is round and it can go anywhere, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, absolutely. And I believe that even if every game is totally different, you cannot compare. 100%. Because at this point, I could say, hey, we are playing. Forget about Cosenza, Regina Cosenza. Just let's remove from our minds that freaking game. But I can tell you that right now we are playing better than Cagliari, and especially at home in casa. So I would say, hey, you made like 0-0 with Cagliari. Maybe we are a little bit stronger than Cagliari right now in the San Vito Marulla. I could say that I would like to say that, but still I stick with my 0-0. So you know what I mean?
Good. As I said to you, I'm like right
also,
there. I don't know if it's.
The standing speaks, and we are, I think, that above Cagliari. But as I say again, every game is different, so it doesn't count anything. What I'm saying, just talking.
I mean, that's such a fair thing to say though for anybody that's looking at this match. Like, you are above Cagliari right now, like literally in the table. Like, this isn't going to be just like
Venezia. You're above Venezia. You're above Cagliari.
We are playing better. We are playing better. Forget about Regina Cosenza. Just you gotta remove Regina. Of course. Because any derby is a different game.
Yeah,
it's a complete.
It's like for some reason it could ruin your score, your ranking, your everything, your everything inside. Like you can be depressed for one stupid game, which is very important actually, and we can wait to beat them when on the way back, al ritorno, and so al Marulla, and let's see.
That'll be different.
I'm sure it's gonna be a totally different game. That's for sure. Also because we will have, we say in Italy, we say, giocheremo con sangue agli occhi.
Oh, so yes.
That's the bottom line. You have no idea. Also because they show to be really like non-nice, nice people. I'm sorry to say this because I'm Calabrese. I love Calabria everywhere. But when the people call you Zingari, which means gypsy, and something else I don't even remember. It's like kind of something like he passed the limit, they crossed the line.
Yes.
It's not fair, because it's a freaking game. It's a game. It's a soccer game. Something else. Then if I remember, then I'll tell you. But Zinger is enough. When you call you gypsy,
it's
which
pretty
doesn't
bad.
make sense, because I mean, anyway, I don't think we are gypsy. Actually, the culture in Calabria is in Cosenza. I mean, everybody knows that Cosenza as a city itself is the most culturally city we have in Calabria. So I don't know where this comes from, but I'm saying that if you want to beat somebody, you want to insult somebody, you gotta find some right words, and they did such a good job. So that's the only thing I can say. Anyway, so we'll have our big revenge
in the second leg
next year in the 2023. Remember this date.
So we're almost close to the wrapping up, but there are a lot of Calabresi all around the world, especially here in Canada and the United States. So in the event anybody wants to reach out to you, Raffaello, at the Cosenza Club New York, how can they reach out to you?
No, they reach out me, like, they received some private message on Instagram, and because the only official media website, media is on Instagram. On Facebook, we only have a couple of fencing pages, which is not the official one. But I'm receiving a lot of nice message. And unfortunately, as everybody knows, that south of Italy is a big container of anybody goes for big team like Juventus, Milan, Inter.
Yeah.
And that's our only issue, that not just in Cosenza, even in Palermo, in Catania, in Bari, even in, you believe or not, Napoli and Roma. I've been living in Roma for years.
I can't believe that a little bit.
You believe or not, there are a lot of Juventini in Roma, even in Napoli, a lot of Juventini. If you go to Ischia, which is the other big islands next to Capri, everybody goes for Juventus. They don't care about Napoli. So the bottom line, I'm saying that it's that's why, even if they love Cosenza, but they still follow Serie A and these big teams. So the only this will change when eventually one day we'll go to Serie A. So when Cosenza is gonna be a big dream for all of us, even for 1 year to go to Serie A, then the people will realize, will wake up and say, hey, I'm from Cosenza, I'm from South. I never born in Milan, in Torino. Yeah. Like, why have to go for, and what's, you know what I mean? But I understand that, when you grow up and you are a child, and even teenager, or even before, at the school, everywhere, people, they love this big, strong team who win. And
it's not only that, Rafael, it's also because Serie A is the one that is most known, the most followed, etc. Well, now that we're here in Serie B, not that I did not know about it, but it's become even more evident that it is a great championship. It is very extremely underevaluated.
It's super competitive. I mean,
it's very super competitive. And that's the beauty about this championship.
I was going to say, Ref, earlier when you were talking about the match, you can't really say Cosenza have nothing to lose, because it's so competitive anyway that even if you come out with 0 points, it's still going to be like, we need to have as much as we can. So it's the same for us.
Yeah. Let me fix what I said. Like, nothing to lose. Yeah, you're right. We are losing. We are going to lose eventually 1 or 3 points, which for us is very important, especially when you play home. But we have to consider that we are playing with Genoa. Right. If I'm going to play with Ternana, with the Spal, with even Benevento at this point, you know what I mean? But Genoa, I think when the season started, I put up Genoa on top, and for me, I'm a little bit disappointed, because as also sympathizant of Genoa, I hope that Genoa has to go back to Serie A because it doesn't belong to Serie B. For me, it's so strange to see Genoa in Serie B. You have no idea. But anyway, so that's why, I mean, we can lose with Genoa. It's not a big deal. I'm very pissed if I'm going to lose with, as I said before, Benevento, Ternana, Spal, Südtirol, this kind of, we are, like, you know what I mean? So that's why you gotta be pissed if you lose with Cosenza eventually.
Yeah.
Because you know what I mean? That's there is a huge gap. Even if we are not the same of the last year, but still different goals, different investment, and has history. Of course, Genoa has the most beautiful, I think, and long history in the Serie A, Serie B, Serie in Italy. But Cosenza 1914 is not bad at all.
Not at all. Older than some other teams that claim to be from Genova, but they're not.
We are older than probably we are older than Roma or some other big team. But anyway, so that was my thought. And I think that the Serie B this season is very, very, very super competitive, and there are like at least 5 delay. I don't see. I mean, Venezia, Cagliari, Genoa. Genoa is okay. I mean, it's almost there, like 3 points, 3 different. But I mean, there are other teams that Benevento, big disappointment. Benevento is still missing the right.
Pisa, Venezia,
Pisa.
Pisa is crazy.
That's why, I mean, it's important to make points now, because in a couple of months you will see the real season.
Yeah,
it didn't start yet for me. It's something like it's just there is a mess everywhere now. There are delays. You see strange games, strange scores, like, but in a couple of months I think everybody will be on the right file, and that's why it's important right now, since a lot of teams are missing the trailer to take advantage and just do the best. I'm talking about my Cosenza, of course, and also for you guys, because imagine if Venezia was up there, or even Cagliari,
right?
And I still believe that it's gonna be different season for the different. I mean, it's gonna be difficult also for Regina and Bari as well, because I think they did the same athletic training and preparation, and now they are going fast. But in a couple of months, I'm very curious to see
what happens. Exactly.
Bari and Regina will be. Yes.
Good.
So this was amazing to have you had again with us here, Raffaello. It's just so tremendous to have you all the time, to speak to you, write to you all the times. And
always my pleasure. And sorry for my English.
No, there's no problem. Not at all. What are you talking about? So thank you very much for coming again. You're always welcome on our podcast. You know that. And thank you, everybody, for listening. We're enthusiastic to say that this is a wrap for episode 20. And we're actually going to be, we have the title this time, Grande Gemellaggio with the Lupi. It's going to be our title.
So Forza Cosenza, Forza Genoa.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And Forza Genoa.
Che vinca il migliore per me.
Che vinca il migliore.
Because if you deserve, or if I deserve, then, chapeau.
Forza Genoa.
Forza Lupi. Okay?
You've listened to La Lanterna, a spotlight on Italian football, a podcast powered by Genoani Si Resta. Thank you for listening, and see you next week.